Hey guys, recording this here on what is it, Friday the 19th. Maybe you're seeing this on Monday at the latest, but want to let you know we are almost sold out for Founder 500 in Austin, Texas here in about a week. It's going to be an amazing event, 500 B2B SaaS founders. I'm looking at the attendee list. There's almost 60 founders with more than 7 million bucks in ARR. It's an incredible group. There's over 100, over 150 with more than a million revenue. It's an incredible group. You don't want to miss it. Grab your hotel, grab your flight, grab a ticket right now. I'll put the link in the bio, in the description here on YouTube. And I think there's only about 3 tickets left. Okay, about 3 tickets left. I'd love to see you guys there. Don't be bashful. Grab your ticket now. Hey, folks, my guest today is Albert Santolo. He's a computer scientist and internet entrepreneur with experience in high growth venture backed technology companies. He's now building a low code development platform called 8base. Recently made a nice pivot and looking forward to catching up today. Albert, you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely. Great to see you, Nathan.
Great to see you too. So, my gosh, first off, this is a very competitive space. There's a ton of free tools. How are you positioning yourself?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's competitive and it's not. I mean, if you look at the real competition is people building things from scratch. So, I would say in some areas, yeah, there's been solutions that have come out and made a difference, but there's still a lot of greenfield opportunity here. I'd say we're in the first or second inning still.
Yep. Now, when we last spoke, this would have been back in early 2021. Actually, you told me, your largest customer was $240,000 a year. You had 1,200 customers paying on $100 a month on average. You're doing about 1.5 million in total ARR. I believe you were basically bootstrapped outside of a small seed round. How have things changed?
Oh my God, there's been a lot of change. So at the time we had, 8base has always had the intention of being full stack low code, but we had essentially half the product stood up. So we started with the back end. We had a back-end as a service product, and we had a professional services offering that would help people use that back-end. And so part of our bootstrapping and dogfooding strategy was to bring services to the table, do large engagements that implement 8base while we were building out the rest of the product. So that rest of the product, which is all the front-end tools, is now in the market. In the process of all this, we raised venture capital. So we closed a $10.6 million round earlier this year. And, we're in the process of shifting the business model. So taking the services side of what we do, and instead of us doing it ourselves, creating an ecosystem of external providers that do it on behalf of our customers. Mm-hmm. We've already got, a seed, a bunch of those in place, and we're building out more. And then really focusing our efforts on product-led growth. So really implementing a product-led growth flywheel, and then a B2B sales effort that goes on top of that.
What's that mean? PLG flywheel. What's the free plan look like? And if so, where do people run into the paywall on the free plan? How do you decide what activation metric to use?
Yeah, and so the paywall that's up right now is only for the back end. So the front end tools are still free. We are going to combine that so that it's full stack pricing in the next few months. But for now, we just want adoption of the front end tools. And so the free plan is pretty ample, but the way to think about it is it's going to give you a base level of backend capacity on AWS. It's going to let you try out
That's literally storage, amount of storage or something.
Storage and computing capacity primarily. Okay. Yeah, so it's the full blown, all of it available through an API that exposes the backend. So if you're just using 8base for the backend, you'll have the ability to use our free tier with ample capacity. If you're using the full stack, the paywall will really start there with the deploy button. So we'll use a reverse trial where you get put into our professional plan for the first 14 days, and then you'll convert off of that. So you'll be able to use the deploy button for 14 days, hopefully fall in love with the tool, and after that you'll begin to pay at $25 a month.
Mm-hmm. You're using some interesting positioning words on your website, things like not just the best way to build like applications, the best way to build JavaScript applications. Yes. And there's, niching down in a hyper competitive space can really work. So why JavaScript applications, and what are other examples of how you're trying to focus on a specific niche?
It's interesting that you call it a niche. And I love that because it's actually the biggest niche there is.
Fair.
So if you think about low code tools, in general, they've all made people learn a new language, visual language, combination of visual and scripting languages, whatever. What we're trying to say is when you get into 8-Base, you should already know what to do if you're a JavaScript developer, of which there are about 14 million in the world. So it's the largest pool of developers, around a language in the world. So if you're a customer, think about the benefits of using a low-code tool that also brings with it fungibility from the developer side, rather than train up developers on our stack at a high price point.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here, and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. Talk to me a little bit about go-to-market in sort of the non-traditional sense. You have 8-Base Academy, which I believe is new. A lot of founders struggle with content, especially a formal academy program where there's coaches coming in, there's recordings happening, and how do you get eyeballs on it? So how have you structured this academy, and is it working?
Yeah, Academy is a great resource, and we're probably in the 3rd inning of building that out. Most of the emphasis on Academy has been on the back end so far. So what you're going to see come online is the front end tools as well, plus non-technical resource type education as well. Because when you're using 8-Base, you have to be at least quasi-technical. But there'll be resources around non-technical people and how to access our ecosystem to get what they need built.
This can be a very specific question, but I think a lot of people like this. People love programmatic SEO, where you can sort of do one thing, record a YouTube video, then it goes out 1,000 places. You then put it back into an academy program. Something that looks like you've done well that frankly we're struggling with at FounderPath. You have taxonomy here. I can see 8-Base console or GraphQL or resolver functions. Was that a manual? Did you have someone manually go in and tag every piece of content with the right taxonomy so that your users can sort quickly?
Yeah. One of the things we did was transcribe every video so that the transcription is out there on the web and crawlable by Google, et cetera.
Is it working?
So that's really, yeah. I mean, it's helping with the keywords for sure.
Yeah, you're seeing more organic traffic. That would be working.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's very cool. Okay, talk to me a little bit more about ARPU. Obviously, you raised a Series A, and by the way, you've had like amazing timing on this Series A. You closed it in March, right?
Yeah. We did the first closing in February and the final closing in April. Look, I've been around for a while, and I am a big believer in windows. And this window felt like it was just open too long. And so, given the nature of what we do, you need real money behind it. So I felt like we had proved out our model. We had gotten enough R&D done that it was time to like step on the gas, augment the team. And so around mid last year, I started preparing. And late in the year, got the term sheet that we wanted to see, and then did the deal.
Mm-hmm. And most founders, when they're doing sort of a Series A like that, they're selling 10 to 15% of the business. Were you sort of in that same range?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. So that would have been something, between like an 80 and 100 million valuation, something in there.
You're in the range.
Okay, fair enough. Was it a fair? Do you feel like it was looking now, valuations have contracted? Do you go, oh shit, how do I grow into this valuation now that the multiples are contracting so much?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was a crazy valuation, and I didn't really want a crazy valuation. What I was more interested in was who was the partner, and I'm just incredibly happy around that. So I did when we got
who was it? Who'd you pick?
Yeah, so look. Before I tell you, I didn't negotiate valuation on the term sheet. So I negotiated other things, but the valuation was something I didn't touch. So the partner is Foundry Group out of Boulder, and Chris Moody led the round, and I have the utmost respect for them and Chris. And the experience with them has just been phenomenal every step of the way.
Where did you focus your negotiation power if it wasn't on valuation during the term sheet process? Were there sort of like board structure you were optimizing, ratchet clauses, liquidation preference? Like what were you focused on?
It wasn't a little bit of board structure. It was the cleanest, best term sheet I've ever seen, and I've seen at least a dozen in my day. And don't take it from me. Our lawyers said the same. They're like, wow, right? And these are Silicon Valley lawyers. So the negotiation was minor stuff. I mean, it's probably not even worth talking about here. It's just like there was no ratchet provisions, there was no liquidation preference, there was none of that. Yeah.
There's a lot of friction I hear around the Series A negotiations on this stuff. Is the board structure is typically moving to either a 3 or 5 person board at the Series A, because you've got the seed with one seat, the Series A with a seat, the founder or founders with the seat. But obviously a founder doesn't want to be in a position where there's 2 investors and then just the founder. So you typically create 2 other seats for common to hold. Yeah. And sometimes the language around that board structure is such that it doesn't say Albert controls the 3 seats. It says the majority of common, or whoever is currently the CEO controls a seat. But if those investors can change who the CEO is or do something to change your ability to keep the majority of common, you effectively lose control of the board. Did maybe not on your term sheet, maybe in the other ones you've seen in your past, like how do you think about board structure over time?
Yeah. So this is how founders lose control of their ventures, and you're probably going to eventually lose control of the venture unless you just have something that's just off the charts. But you want to delay that for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. So, and I've seen VCs come in that don't control the board, still control the board. Mm-hmm. So you got to be the more important thing is who your partner is. It's not what the documents say.
How do they do that? How can an investor control the board, but it doesn't look like they control the board?
One example is, number one, they're, the most accomplished person at the table, and they have the big war chest that can keep doubling down in rounds, and other people are running out of money, for instance. And they're just, they'll side with that investor because that investor is dominant, so that'll be one example, but there's probably a zillion examples. So, so in terms of board structure, we ended up with a 3-person board with 2 independent seats. We're in the process of looking for one of those independents.
Wow. Foundry didn't require that for them to, protect their preferred shares with their own seat, huh?
No, Foundry has their own seat. They have a Series A seat. And then there's we call it a Series Seed seat, but it's really controlled by Common and Series Seed voting together, which means, that I control it.
Yep.
Then there's a CEO seat, which I sit in.
What are the 2 independent ones? And I thought you said he has 2 independents.
The two independent are just independent board members. Like we'll do a search and find people that we think are relevant with
Oh, so you're
industry.
moving to five.
Yeah, we're moving to five.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes, I misunderstood you. I thought you said it was three today. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's three today, and then two more that will be approved once the at least the fourth person's found.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Going back to product velocity. So last time we spoke, I think you said you had about 38 folks on the team. How many are on the team today?
Right now, it's about 60 or so.
Wow. And how many engineers?
Core engineering is 40 or so.
Why do you use the word core?
Well, because I'm in that. We've got product management. We've got our CTO. He's not in that number. We're all involved in product.
Have you done anything to try and control burn over there, but still get the engineering resources you need, like outsource?
We have a little bit of outsourcing going on. The outsourcing usually increases the burn. And then we now have 30 people in Medellin, Colombia. That's recent news as well. So we
Why do you say outsourcing to Colombia increases the burn? Wouldn't it be more expensive to hire a full timer in New York or San Francisco?
Well, I think of that as offshoring versus outsourcing because it's our own company.
Ah, got it.
Outsourcing, we also have some consulting firms that help us as well.
I see.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, you consider the group in Colombia offshoring, not outsourcing.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a wholly owned sub of 8base that we established down there. Yeah.
It's not like a dev shop that you're getting 100 hours per month in. I see.
No. We have a few of those, but that's not the mainstream.
So why would you put certain engineering specs or tasks into outsourcing versus your team that is wholly owned by you offshoring in Colombia?
It for a number of different reasons, but think of, one of them just, ramping up engineers fast. Some of these are like, hire, temp to perm and things like that. And some of them are handling specific things.
Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Talk to me about product. What's coming up next? Anything you can share?
Oh my God, there's a lot going on in product. So as I mentioned, we had the back end. It's still, it's very mature and going really well. We're beefing up the R&D as it relates to the back end, going to add more core services to help applications run. And then the front end tools are evolving super quickly. I think if you dug into those, what you would see is a very powerful low code platform that operates with the flexibility of a framework. Mm-hmm. And that is a very, very hard thing to do. So like a web developer, React developer, Vue.js developer can come into an 8base and still feel like they're developing and they're not limited by the low code environment because of that flexibility in the way we've architected it. And then what you're going to see is that we're going to start bringing this whole product experience to be full stack. Whereas today you can use the back end or use the front end or use them together. The product experience is a little bifurcated. And so it's going to become one, even though you can still use the back end as a headless, back end, or you can use the front end talking to other back ends. But the product experience will be more unified.
Guys, heck of a story here. Check it out at 8base.com if you want, again, no code your way to your SaaS MVP. It's a good way to go. Albert Santalo, thanks for taking us to the top, man.
And Nathan, one quick thing, MVP and beyond, like we've got clients now that are hyperscaling. So that's one of the big benefits of the product is just, you can start with MVP, but you keep going, you never have to re-platform.
Guys, 8base.com, it's free to check it out. Go take a drive. Albert, thanks again, man.
Thank you, Nathan. Always a pleasure.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.